Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. It is opening day 2025. We are finally here. We get a 9-game main slate on DraftKings. It's an 11-game main slate on FanDuel. Uh, As always, I will be diving in on DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about pitching. This is the first look at the pitching options on the slate for us. Help to eliminate some guys from our pool, save us some time throughout the day as we try to research the matchups. As always, opening day, it's always super difficult in trying to dig through these matchups because we're generally getting ace versus ace. Um, might not necessarily be the case with a couple of these teams, but in general, we get ace versus ace. So matchups are a little more difficult, as you can see based on run totals on this slate. Um, they're between 6.5 and 8 runs. Um, one of them opened up at 8.5, and it's since come down to 8. Um, so everything's super tight overall here. So then once we see that, what do we do? Um, kind of go through some pitching options. Uh, and like I said, with it being kind of ace versus ace ish on opening day, uh, we try to take some prop numbers into account here. Um, and obviously consider some opposing lineups. But it'll be interesting to see what some of these lineups are uh, on opening day. When we dig into some props, we find that Zach Wheeler is the most likely starting pitcher to earn the win. Not overly shocking, consider Paul Skeens has Pittsburgh's offense behind him, plus they're facing Sandy Alcantara. Um, the biggest shock for me, and a guy that I'm going to talk about with the members at DFS Army, is actually Kikuchi. Now, obviously, it's the White Sox, so it's a super soft matchup. Um, but it's still surprising to see him with the second lowest odds in terms of picking up the W. But and also he has a pretty strong K prop at 6.5 with juice on the over. So a lot of things working towards Kikuchi. But we'll kind of go from the top here. We're gonna try to find some guys that we're gonna be interested in, some guys that we want to eliminate. Um, I don't think we really need to talk about Paul Skeens. K prop of 6.5 with juice on the over. Um, a runs allowed prop of just 0.5. Obviously, juice on the over, but that's the lowest run prop out there. One thing that did catch my eye was that he is projected to only go about 5 innings. His outs prop is at 15.5 with juice on the under. So that might be something that kind of flips us to maybe look at as Zach Wheeler. But I think Skeens is probably the number one pitcher on this slate, to be honest. Um, Wheeler K prop of 6.5 with juice on the under. Like I mentioned, strongest win prop. Dominated against Washington last season. There is some Washington BVP I did notice, but I think Wheeler's perfectly fine. And I think you're going to see quite a few lineups that have Skeens and Wheeler paired together. Chris Sale, he's fine. San Diego just didn't strike out a ton, especially against left-handed pitchers last year. K prop of just 5.5 with juice on the under. A lot lower than I thought. He's going to be probably sprinkled into my pool, maybe, but I would guess that he's somebody I'm going to skip over. Garrett Crochet, K prop is 6.5, juice on the over, plus 180 to get the W. But like Skeens, his outs prop is just 15.5 with juice on the under. Um, that is a little concerning, but um, we should still see him pitch, the 5 to 6 innings, and I wouldn't be shocked to see it go over. Um, Last year on opening day, he got the surprise start for the White Sox that we weren't expecting. We also weren't expecting him to throw 80 some pitches in that start either. Um, so I would guess that he's probably perfectly fine. Reagan's last year opening start approached almost 100 pitches. That's intriguing. Cleveland lineup, not super dangerous, so he's definitely intriguing for me. Framber Valdez, not somebody I plan on going to. K prop of 5.5, juices on the over. Um, but I think I want to attack him with some Mets bats. Um, Pablo Lopez, probably fine. K prop's just 5.5, juice on the under. It might be a game that I avoid pitching, even though I do like Pablo Lopez overall. Michael King, probably not going to go there. K prop of 5.5 with juice on the under. His outs prop is just 14.5 with juice on the over. Um, so it's just not somebody that I'm super interested in, just because we do have to eliminate some guys. Um, Sonny Gray, definitely not going to make my pool. I don't like the fact that his velocity was down in spring, that he's dealing with illness that has sapped his strength to a degree. Just don't know what to expect in this spot, so I'm going to gladly go elsewhere since we do have plenty of stud pitchers. Speaking of studs here, Sandy Alcantara, as you see in this blurb, last Friday built up the 80 to 90 pitch mark. Uh, there's a lot of talk early in the spring that he could be limited, leading up to the trade deadline, so Miami could move him. But then later on, it came out that he's going to see no restrictions. At least that came out through Sandy himself. I'm not sure what to believe, but I just know that a guy that's a Cy Young Award winner that faces a pretty pedestrian offense at just 7,700, I have to be super intrigued. K prop is just 4.5, but juice is on the over. He does have one of the lower K props on the day, but obviously tougher matchup, so his win probability just plus 360 because he is taking on Skeens, but he's somebody that I'm definitely interested in. Logan Webb, not somebody I look at when he's pitching on the road, um, so I'm probably just going to end up passing there. Surprisingly, uh, Cincinnati's favored, but Webb's win probability prop is plus 205, while Green's is plus 215. With that said, I will be playing Hunter Green. I know he can give up plenty of home runs, especially at home, but his strikeout numbers are stronger at home. His walk rate is lower as well. Uh, Obviously, a volatile arm, but I would like to see San Francisco roll out a bunch of lefties because Green actually dominates lefties much better, much stronger than he does right-handed bats. And San Francisco is traditionally a pretty platoon-heavy team, so we'll see what kind of lineup they roll out. But I do like Hunter Green because he has just electric upside, and that's what I'm interested in large field GPPs. Nate Eovaldi is probably going to make my pool. At least he did initially because he got a strong K prop of 5.5 with juice on the over. 16.5 outs with juice on the over as well. There's just the props are kind of leading towards him being a solid play. Uh, Even though I think I prefer the Boston Bats, but uh, those numbers are just telling me that I should be considering Evaldi. So he likely makes my pool. Um, And then the only guy down below here, like I'm not super interested in Bybee on the road. I like Kansas City bats a little bit. I know Bybee's pretty good. He did struggle some against Kansas City last year. Did beat him twice, um, but giving up 5 home runs in 22 innings. Uh, that's obviously a little concerning. Uh, Strong home run numbers, and I think think Kansas City is one of the warmest atmospheres on this opening day slate. So that there's just enough reasons for him to not make my pool at this point. Mentioned Kikuchi. All the props lead towards him being somebody that should be much greater than 6,900 on this slate, but here we are. Um, he sits as a minus 155 favorite, or the Angels do, which the last time I looked, that was tied with Skeens as the largest favorite on this slate on DraftKings. Uh, so I mean, it's just hard to ignore. I'll be honest. I'm going to be heavy on him. I'm curious to see what his ownership percentage ends up being at, or at least the projected number. If you've been watching my stuff or reading my content for a while, you know I'm a big fan of Mackenzie Gore. I just don't think I'm getting there against Philadelphia. Decent numbers against them last season. Um, his overall performance at home last year was much worse. Uh, his Ks are stronger at home, but overall, plenty of hits, a ton of base runners. It's just not ideal against this team from Philadelphia, allowing a bunch of base runners. Bad things end up happening. Um, I've had some people already ask me about Sean Burke. Sure, talented arm, but getting the opening day start for the White Sox. Made some appearances at the end of last year, looked pretty good. They want to pick on the Angels. Like, I can understand it. The Angels lineup pretty weak overall, but I just do not see a reason to go there. He has the lowest outs prop on the board, 13 and a half outs, and the juice is on the under. So Vegas just does not expect him to go deep. That's actually a DraftKings line. So DraftKings themselves do not expect him to go deep. His K prop is the lowest on the slate, actually second lowest. With the juice involved, Grant Holmes is, or Clay Holmes, not Grant Holmes. Clay Holmes is actually lower. Um, I won't be using Clay Holmes either. I'm interested to see what he does because he's been pretty strong against right-handed bats, and Houston has a ton of those guys in the lineup. But I'm just not sure what to expect making his first regular season start. Um, his outs prop is the second lowest on the slate behind Burke, so just not somebody that I'm super pumped to use on this day. I do think we're going to be using him at times throughout the season. I'm just really shocked that he got to start over Kodai Senga for one. But there we have it. There's kind of the look breakdown of all the pitchers that we see. I did kind of go one by one. Normally I won't do that, but for the opening day and some difficult matchups, we do have to kind of look at them and make decisions. You find things that make sense, a reason to include a guy or a reason to remove a guy. It could be really small. My pool might adjust once we see official lineups. There might be something that pops out that I wasn't thinking of. So I'll make sure to let guys know in our Discord. But that's it. Uh, if you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. And if you want to get access to our coaches, notes, tools, sheets, etc., I will put links in the description below. I believe the coupon code right now is first pitch. That is 20% off forever for any of our offerings. So I definitely want to check that out. But again, I'll put links in the description below. And happy opening day to everybody. Let's get out there and crush it.